Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel, and I'm the Director of Business Development for the conference today. And I am joined by Scott Duke, who is the founder of OpnRoad. So welcome, Scott.
Welcome. Nice to be here, Rachel.
Absolutely. Thanks so much to all of you for attending today. I see some activity happening in the chat. So hopefully everyone's had a good, I think we've just done the opening remarks for today. So you're our first speaker. No pressure, Scott. But Scott, I mentioned, is the founder of OpnRoad. He is going to talk about learning the secrets the 1% used to sell for 3 to 5 times the competition. Founder of OpnRoad and Gateway Capital, right, Scott?
That's correct. Yeah, and a bunch of other handful of stuff, but
I bet.
Yeah.
You seem like you've been very successful, so that's amazing.
Busy.
Both organizations help owners sell their businesses for 3 to 10 times their earnings. So I'm sure you're going to tell us your secrets a little bit, dabble into that.
So I'm opening the book.
You're opening the book. All right, then.
I'm going deep. I'm giving everything people need. So
this is OpnRoad, so I wouldn't expect anything less.
Exactly.
Awesome. If anyone has any questions today, I think your colleague Dominique, Dom.
Yeah, that's right.
Is in the chat. So I think you're giving something away. Maybe you're going to talk about that too, because it seems like a big value that you're giving away here today. I'm pretty impressed. So maybe you'll share that. It's in the chat here as well. If anyone has any questions, please place them in the stage chat, and either Dom, your colleague, or Scott will answer them as we go along here. But I think we're all set, right, Scott? You'll take it from here.
Let's go. We have 25 minutes, so
awesome.
You need to rock.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck. And thanks so much for being here. Thanks to your organization for supporting the event. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Rachel. Thanks again for you guys and all the work you do.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those of us that are here, I'm going to dive right into it. So the presentation that I put together is how to sell your business like the 1%, which is maybe a bit of a hook, but mostly I'm trying to get the knowledge into your hands of how to be successful as you prepare your company for sale and you actually go through the sale process. So this is my presentation. This is kind of setting the table. Like I said, there's only 25 minutes here for me. I've done this event before and I tried to, jam a whole bunch of stuff in. And there's just not enough time. So now I'm going to give you the takeaways so that you can walk away with what you need to be successful. And this presentation is basically a gateway to give that information to you. So first I'm going to start with a 1 minute, just kind of welcome and a little intro, a mini short background on me. So you just have an idea of where I come from. Then I'm going to take 3 minutes to talk to you about these tools that I'm going to put in your hands because they're super powerful, and going over them so you know where and how to use them is going to be useful time spent. I'm going to talk 15 minutes about these insider secrets. Okay, so this is the bulk of the presentation where I will go through, kind of show you where you're going to get your value from for your company, look into a little bit of what your competitors are doing, and I'm going to give you the major keys to increasing your multiple when you sell. And then I'll leave some stuff open for Q&A at the end. Hopefully we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A at the end. Also in the chats, Dom's going to be monitoring the chat. And if there's anything that pops up question-wise, I can also try and squeeze it into the presentation. So as far as the welcome goes, I figured the easiest way would just be to show you kind of on our OpnRoad website here. This is basically my brief 1 minute history. I ran a wakeboard camp, which is a water ski camp. That was kind of the first larger business that I operated. It expanded into 5 locations and was the largest in North America. And it was successful by all metrics as far as business goes, but it did not sell. And this is what kind of got me into this whole space of selling companies, because you'd think a profitable company that had 5 locations and we had 25 staff would be something that you could sell. Anyway, there's reasons why it didn't. So then after that, I had to start from ground zero. I was a hot dog cart guy for a while. I took money from the hot dog cart, rolled it into starting a radio station, and then took money from the radio station and rolled it into buying a property management company. This property management company we set up to sell, but that took 7 years. And in that process, I became a certified acquisition advisor, a CBI, which is a business a certified business intermediary. We started the Happy Dealmaker channel, did a whole bunch of courses, which I'm going to give you guys a bunch of them for free today. And we run one of the biggest events nationally called the Exit Plan Summit for selling businesses. So that's kind of about me. That is all I wanted to put in about me because we don't want to waste too much time there. Just to give you a bit of background. What we really want to get into is the freebies here. So I said I'd have the freebies in the first 4 minutes. So here we are. This is $6,300 worth of freebies. So this is, if you guys can take advantage of this, please take it away and use it use these tools to your advantage to increase the value of your company and make it easier when you sell your company. That Basecamp that I had, it didn't sell for the reasons that are solved in all of these tools. And I had a few other companies after that that didn't sell as well. So it took me kind of 5 kicks at the can before I built something that was sellable. And those lessons, as well as everything else I've learned along the road, are in these tools. But if you're thinking about selling or just researching the selling process, so you're kind of, I don't know if I'm going to sell my company, but maybe I want to get a general idea of what it's going to take to sell. That's what this tool is all about. It's called the Business Sale Navigator. It's only about, it's set up like a little course, but it's only about an hour and a half of content, and it'll give you all of the high level of what you need to do to get your company prepared for sale, get it through the selling process, and also increase the value along the way. So very high level. So it's kind of like just dipping your toes into the water. If you have a company that's doing under $1 million in revenue, then, and you can use this if you're doing over, but I specifically built this for people that are doing under $1 million in revenue. This we've been selling for the last 2 years for just shy of $6,000. We've sold this to a bunch of business owners. They've used it to sell their companies. You're here at this event. This was kind of our big, pitch to get people to come to our talk and get people out to the event in general. This tool is a beast. This took me 1.5 years to create. It's 30 hours of content. It gives you everything you need to sell your business if you want to sell your business on your own. That is in this tool right here. So again, this OpnRoad.io, claim your freebies, and Dom will put it in the chat as well. And you can get access to this tool. It's amazing. This last one is, so if you have a company that is doing over $1 million, you kind of like, and I'm going to show you in the presentation, you kind of just cross the threshold a little bit. We ran an event in January called the Exit Plan Summit. I had 30 speakers at that event. Each one was a CEO, founder, or high up in the industry of business sales or M&A. And I asked each one of them the same question. It's, what does a business owner need to do to guarantee their company's sellable? All of the answers are in this. It's a 75-page document, and it is extremely thorough. So if there's one thing you're going to do thinking about selling your company, and you're kind of, even if you're under the $1 million mark, but definitely if you're over the $1 million mark and you want to really reach and stretch on that multiple of what you sell for, this document is insane. There's so much content in it, and like I said, it's 75 pages, but it breaks either way. Just that's available to you. So these are the freebies. Please take advantage of them. I want this information in your hands so you don't kind of go through the pain like I went through of having a company that wasn't sellable. All right, so that's that. So let's so enjoy. All right, so let's drop in here to the insider knowledge, which is the bulk of this presentation. So I wanted to start with general business, like Canada stats. Okay, so we kind of all know where we're operating. We know the ecosystem we're in. And this is just kind of generally interesting. So this is, you can actually get this, you can download it. It's the key small business statistics, the newest ones from 2020. You can kind of type that into Google and you can get all of the stats. But this one I find interesting because there's 1.2 million companies in Canada. So there's kind of 1.2 million of us. And this is how it breaks down. 97% of these businesses are under, 1.9 under 99 employees, right? And 73% are under 10. So the bulk of the businesses that are in Canada, and this is, by the way, is mirrored in the US, are in this space right here and in this category. Okay, so likely if you're watching this, you're probably here, likely in this 97%, almost 98% of businesses. And the question becomes, okay, if most of the businesses are smaller in Canada, are they sellable, right? And that's the question I ask here, is like, how many of these 1.2 million companies that are operating in our country are actually sellable? This is the big question, right? So this is how it breaks down. All right. So if you're here at this bottom, you're watching and you're in the minority that are, anywhere between 100 employees and 500 employees, you're 100% sellable at a multiple. And what I mean by that as sellable at a multiple is that you can sell for 2 times, 3 times, 4 times earnings. When businesses are sold on earnings, by the way, and they're measured in a multiple, right? So the buyer will say, okay, I'll come along and I'll pay 3 times, 4 times, 5 times multiple for your company. These businesses here, they're kind of guaranteed to sell for a multiple because they're established. They've obviously proven themselves, but there's not a lot of them, right? Then if you're here, kind of this 10 to 50 employees, about 50% of these businesses are sellable. And down here, the 1 to 4, 5 to 9 employees, about 5%, 10% of these businesses are sellable for a multiple. You can always sell your stuff. I call it the kind of the garage sale method where, and this is, by the way, what we did with Basecamp is, okay, we have all this stuff and we'll just sell the stuff. that's always available to you. Like put the items that you own up on Kijiji and, you know, kind of sell them pieced out one at a time. What I'm talking about is businesses that have built enough foundation that they can now sell as a multiple. Okay, they're selling their earnings and a multiple of their earnings. So the question from here obviously becomes, all right, and by the way, this is the market that we operate in and we help people in, and these are the businesses that I've run and have built have been of this size. So I'm very comfortable in this space. But the question becomes, all right, how do we make sure that we're part of that sellable side, you know? And so what do I say? The question I have is how to know if you're sellable. And you just ask yourself these questions, and I'll talk to why this is. But do I make $150,000 in earnings? So at the end of the day, these are the acronyms that are used in our space: seller's discretionary earnings, or EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. So as you move into thinking about selling your business, you kind of want to learn what your business does in as far as earnings that are represented in these two numbers. But generally, it's okay, what falls to the bottom line of your income statement? And if you're kind of around here, this like 150K, then you probably have a sellable company, all right? Then the question you ask is, are my earnings defendable? And that's kind of getting into the 1% stuff, and that's what I'm going to talk about for the bulk of this presentation. The reason why this 150 is kind of a bit of a sweet spot is when you think about someone buying your company, it's okay, they need to do two things after they acquire it. One, they need to pay off the interest on the loan that they just took out. They need to service their debt. And so they're going to use like 100K to do that. And then they want to pay themselves a salary, and usually a larger salary than they're making in other opportunities, maybe the business the job they're in right now, right? So that's kind of why this is kind of the bottom threshold. So you can ask yourself that question, and if not, then on this summit, there's lots of people that you can communicate with to learn how to increase your revenues and your earnings at the end of the day. And I'm going to talk more about are your earnings defendable? Okay, so to kind of lead into this, it's like, who will buy your business and how much will they pay? Which is, you know, kind of a good question to ask. I'll move myself here. Here, 1 sec. I'm blocking off this chart, so I'll go up here. This is what I just kind of broke down for you guys in the last chart. It's like we have our upper middle market. These are businesses that are doing 50 to 500 million. That's 0.8% of the market. Then this is 0.3, 1.3, the middle market. 2.9% is the lower middle market, and then the bulk of us are living right here. And by the way, it's my job and it's my mission, it's my passion to take people from this box to here when they sell, because it just moving this little bit really gives you a whole bunch of opportunity for people that you can sell to. So if you're kind of in this spot and you know want to move there, then you know we can communicate. But either way, so this chart's kind of interesting because it really hits high level. So depending on where you are, this is who can help you sell your business. If you're in this zone, you can use an M&A advisor, business broker, realtor, or DIY. If you're thinking DIY, I just gave you the free course of DIY that is, honestly, we've been selling for the last year and a half for $6,000. So take it and use it. Realtor, if you're kind of a really small business in the lower end, maybe you're doing kind of $50,000 in earnings, engage a realtor. They'll be happy to work with you. Business brokers are likely going to want you to be past that 150 threshold, and then M&A advisors are going to want you to be around that 200K in earnings and up. You're going to sell here to owner operators in this box or individual investors, and your multiple is going to be somewhere around this zone. So my goal with people and business owners is always to say, okay, if this is the bracket that we're in here, I really want to stretch and get you up here where we can sell for 2 to 8 times. And the reason why that little bit of a bump, just to get your company just moved up a little bit, opens up the doors to selling to private equity firms, family funds, search funds, corporations, and strategics. You can still sell to owner operators here, and you can still sell to individual investors. But all of this pool of buyers who are people that are actively searching for companies, they live in this space right here. So either way, this is, the question might be, all right, Scott, give me a little bit more information about where I'm actually going to land in my business. And we're 1144, and this goes to 1150. So I'm not going to dig as deep as I want to dig, but I'll show you guys, because I'd like to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So this, if you go to this I have on the next slide, but this link is sellasmallbusiness.com, and Dom can type that in the chat as well. But sellasmallbusiness.com brings you to this site, and it's just all resources for people that are looking to build value in their company or sell their company. And kind of, you scroll down to the pricing resources, this is a really nice page because it gives you all this like direct information on what your business might sell for. So this business valuation resources, I would say it's kind of like the king. It's the beast in the space that gives you more data. And if you clicked on this link, it ends up taking you to this site, which ends up taking you to a spot where you can actually pull data on your particular industry. Okay. So if, for instance, if I'm in, let's see, what was I looking at before? If I'm in retail and building materials and I'm a paint and wallpaper store, then you can click on that and it's going to pull up data down here on what these businesses in your industry sell for on average. So you can see here that the EBITDA that we were talking about, that kind of representation of earnings, or SDE, representation of earnings, another way of representing it, these companies are selling for in that zone I was talking about. So 3 times, 2.3 times, 1.4 times, that's what they're selling for, right? And the question becomes, all right, and then what I'm trying to get the information in your guys' hands is, if some of these are selling for 11 times and some of them are selling for 5 and some of them are selling for 1, it's like, okay, they're all selling, so that's good. I mean, they've crossed the first barrier, right? But what's differentiating them? Why are some selling for more and some selling for less? That's the secrets of the 1%, okay? And just to go back to our presentation. All right, so I gave you this. This is sellasmallbusiness.com. There's a ton of links there and a lot of tools there for you as well to figure out value of your company. So go check that out. And so how to increase your multiple. This is what this presentation is all about. And I have 5 more minutes to talk to you about that. So if I can burn one thing in your mind, and just to move myself here, defendable revenues. All right. First of all, our goal is, let's get the revenues to the point where we can attract a buyer and prove those revenues. And now we need to prove to the buyer that these revenues are defendable. So how do we do that? So I'm going to give you 6 ways. Okay. So first, the things that buyers look at, and is most important to them, is dependence on ownership. So if you have a business that is completely dependent on you, and if you were to leave tomorrow, it's going to, it would have problems, then we want to solve that. And often what I do with owners is I meet with them for the first time and I say, okay, great. You've got your revenues in check. Your business is running. You have a good customer base. You have a supplier base, like everything's set up, proof of concept. Now let's take your key person that works in your business and make them a manager. And if we make them a general manager, now we can start delegating tasks to them and slowly remove ourselves from the business. And I call it every day a step away. That adds more value to your company than you can possibly imagine, because the new buyer can come in and they just plop themselves in the top of the org chart, and that manager stays on and they just keep operating the business the way it was before. That's defendable revenue. Now and then the next thing is recurring revenue and predictable revenue. All right, so that can be done. The example I use for this is, we have a lawn company that like they mow the lawn at our house. Every year I call them and say, "You guys still gonna come around this year?" That's predictable revenue, but it's not recurring and it's not locked in. If they put me on a contract and they put all their clients, say they have 150 clients all on lawn contracts, now all of a sudden that business just increased the multiple substantially, because they can sell these contracts to a potential buyer. It's like, we've got these revenues, but they're proven and they're locked in. They're going to be there in the future. They just added significant value to their multiple. The next is low capital requirements. So if you have new machinery or new equipment or that kind of thing that needs to get updated, or call it old equipment that needs to get updated by the new buyer, that's going to be a big capital infusion they need to put in the beginning of buying the company, and they're not going to like that, right? So we want to have our business always updating things in our business, so it's always in a state of sellability. Revenue diversification, we want to make sure, this is the big thing. If you have one client, this happens a lot when people work for governments, they have one big contract. If that one big contract goes away, what Rob Slee says is, you're one phone call away from oblivion. If that one contract goes away, all of your revenue goes away. Your business essentially goes away overnight. So what we want to do is we want to diversify our revenue by having multiple customers and multiple products that we're selling into the marketplace. The next is growth potential. This is a huge one for buyers. They want to make sure that, okay, if I buy this company today, the future is going to be brighter. So this is more like a marketing thing. In your marketing material, you want to show all the different ways that you can increase revenue in the future. That's going to drive your multiple. Then the next is people, systems, process, and automation. This is massive, right? If you have good culture, if you have rock solid systems, a really solid SOP, and by the way, that business sale accelerator, it has a whole section on building out your SOP. And then automation. So if you can automate a bunch of stuff in your company using Zapier, using a CRM, using Salesforce, whatever it might be, you're going to be in a great spot for increasing your multiple. Okay, great. That's actually, I kind of nailed it for time. That brings us to the Q&A, and I'll go back to my other screen so you can actually see me. And yeah, feel free to ask questions in the chat, or I know you guys can't speak out loud to ask questions, but you're welcome to put that into the chat, and then we can communicate if you have any questions on the presentation. And apologies for blasting through it, but the 25 minutes goes by extremely fast. Okay, I'll put in the chat. I'll check the event and the stage. All right, any questions? If there aren't, I'll just flip back and tell you a little bit more about some of these things and give examples for the next 3-4 minutes here. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. All right, so if I were to give you one piece of advice that you could take home and just really work on, it's the everyday a step away. If you're thinking about selling in the next, call it 5 years, and this is what we did with our property management company after I'd failed at selling 5 different companies, so learning the hard way. Edward asked, are professional corporations as easy to sell as client lists? There's so many variables, right? So I mean, I don't know. I've never sold just a client list, so that's not the business that I'm in. I imagine that you could get, if you go to a competitor and knock on their door and say, hey, I have this client list. If you had contracts, like the client list is on contracts, then you can actually really sell something. But if you're just selling the client list, sure, you could probably get some value from that if you're just shutting your doors. But our goal is to kind of build assets and work with owners to build assets so that you can now sell them into the private capital markets. That's really the objective. And corporations they're not easy to sell. Businesses just aren't easy to sell in general. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of due diligence. There's a lot of buyers in the marketplace, but there's also a lot of opportunity. So it's really kind of finding that match. And having gone through it a lot of times, there is a lot of ways a deal can die and not a lot of ways a deal can make it, right? So I wouldn't say that selling a professional corporation is easy, and I'm not in the business of selling client lists, so I don't know. I can't directly compare it. Yeah, but the big thing is thanks Edward for the question, by the way, and any other questions, toss them in. Low or zero owner dependence, that's the kicker. So if you have a business that you open up so many more buyers, I would say that your buyer pool more than doubles if you have low owner dependence. And this is a tough one and a tough pill for us to swallow as owners, and especially like being a small business owner myself and knowing a lot of times that business is dependent on us. And I find that for my property management company, it took me a year. It took me a year in the event chat. Thanks, Dom. How do you recommend approaching negotiations regarding multiples? Yeah, for sure. So you need to have a nice, solid you need to make sure that you have credibility and you've made a case for your multiple. Because if there's the buyer's going to come with their multiple, by the way, anyway. So the way it rolls out is the buyer's going to look at the opportunity. If they feel like it's something that they want to make an offer on, they'll make an offer at a certain multiple, called the multiple 3. And then the multiple you want to sell for is 4. So now we need a case. You need to have the case to then present that and talk to them. You also need to learn that here's the biggest thing too. Take time with the buyer to figure out what their objectives are. because you can often structure a deal to increase that multiple while still managing the buyer's objectives and still hitting the buyer's objectives. Because oftentimes the buyers are really concerned about debt service. So you can structure a deal in a way that kind of reduces that while still hitting the target that you're looking for from a multiple, from an ultimate sale price. Then that's the best way to do it. So my quick answer would be understand the buyer's needs so that you can actually achieve the buyer's needs, and then be prepared by being able to claim and defend your multiple and the valuation that you came to. Yeah, that kind of takes us to time, but if there's, and thanks Antonio for the question, that's awesome. And if there's any other questions, you guys can toss them in there. And then I think that, I don't know if we get kicked out or and it goes back to the main stage, or if you guys just have the ability to kind of roll around. Think of a CPA corporation, freshly formed. Yeah. So Edward, yeah, the CPA corporation is a little bit different. So if you're a law firm or you have a CPA firm, then you are selling your list. That's a big thing. You're basically selling your clients, and you're going to sell them to a competitor. And they also know that clients that are part of a CPA firm are incredibly sticky. So it's not very often that someone's going to work with a CPA for a while and then all of a sudden just change firms. They'll stay with their accountant, they stay with their lawyer. So there's a lot more value in those lists for sure, and you will be marketing your list definitely. So then you can easily pull the data actually on that site that I just showed you on what CPA firms sell for, because essentially at the end of the day they're buying the client list. So you can easily check that out. Okay, awesome. That was thanks for all that attended to the event. Much appreciated. Enjoy the tools. There's a lot of work that's gone into them, and there's a lot of value in those tools. So take the time and definitely download them. And I wish you guys all the best in your sale. And I'll see you in the networking room and during the rest of the conference.